Yeah, we're not Siamese twins joined at the hip.
Once I saw a caricature that I think I was a teenager, and I still remember it. There's two identical people who sit facing the doctor, and you see only their backs. And the doctor says, normally, an operation to separate Siamese twins is complicated, but in your case, it's easy because you're joined only in the shoelace. And when you look down, you see that the shoelace is connected.
Excellent.
So, yes.
Hi, Joshua.
Hello, friends.
Yes. So I see we're starting to have the usual, like the people who come back. It's nice. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's start. Why not? I started recording, so we have no choice but to start. As I, at least, yeah. Mabubul is someone who joins us for the first time, so I have an excuse to make an introduction.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So the idea
Hello,
for this
thank you.
series of talks came because I'm curious about a lot of people, and I like a lot of people, and I would love people that I love to know other people that I love, and also I don't have time to talk to people that I miss. So I said, why not once a week have a bonfire? I don't know if did you feel that? And just talk with people that I'm curious about or I didn't talk to in a long time, and invite people who are interested to join in, to listen in. Like the metaphor that I thought of is we're meeting not in a bonfire, but in a coffee, and we sit and chat with each other or WhatsApp or whatever, discover each other. In our case with Sharon, it's like a first date, right? Because we never.
This is a blind kind of a
I
blind
know
date.
nothing about you. And people in the adjacent tables, if they're curious, can just say, we heard you talk about this. Do you mind if we barge in? And barge in. And if we're nice enough, we will let them barge in.
Yeah.
And if no, we say, no, sorry, it's a private conversation. Okay, so that's the introduction. And like I'll talk about 20 seconds about me. So my name is Dov. I'm an agile coach. And usually when I say this, I say, I'm an agile coach. Now, do you have any questions? But now I won't do that. And I'm passionate about the things that have no name, like the spaces between things, to see the things that have no concrete forms, to challenge reality, stuff like that. And you, I know nothing about you.
Well, it's I know that because I've seen you kind of in action. Stalking is a bad word, okay, or a negative word. But no, I've seen you. I don't know how I found you, to be honest.
Because you came to Doug's talk.
Yeah, but I found you before that, and I
Really?
don't know from what. I mean, it wasn't just from that. It was before Doug. It was I saw you making comments about something, or you wrote something, and I'm not quite sure what it was. Um, and then you just looked interesting, and you appeared to have an open mind, and kind of in the same way I am. You're fairly fearless about trying new things, and even if you're like, oh, I don't know about this, you'll do it anyway. So you have a bravery to you, and so there's a playfulness to that, and I liked that, so I was intrigued. And then when you threw out there that you were like, hey, I want to have these talks, I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to talk to him. Sure. And then I was like, yeah, but he doesn't know me and he wants to talk to his friends. And then you put the line in there, it's like, well, maybe we don't know each other yet. So I was like, oh, me, I want to talk. and then I was just joining in. Yeah. But I would say you introduced yourself. I always hate doing the regular bio thing.
So don't do the regular one. No problem.
like what interests me, because it's like kind of like a tell show. And so the things that interest me right now are sort of how can we facilitate being in a flow state. And so the books that I'm obsessed with right now, I've got a couple of them behind here, the Stealing Fire, which is Stephen Kotler and Jamie Wheel. And I've ordered Stephen Kotler's new book, which is The Art of Impossible, and I'm just anxiously awaiting that. I pre-ordered it, so it should be here in February. But they really get into the recipe of how we can chemically, with our endorphins, access our own particular flow state and come up with our own recipe for us individually. For example, if you need to run for or do fast walking for 10 minutes, and then maybe it's a coffee, and then maybe it's reading something or having a discussion, because we have to be our own test animals. But then I started thinking, wow, that would be amazing to then, if I find my perfect one, which I'm always looking for because I have ADD and dyslexia, and so I'm always looking to streamline and balance my concentration issues and nutrition and everything. And so this is like with all the neuroscience going on right now. There's a big explosion in just globally, and so it's just all this information, all these studies. So this is kind of my obsession right now, and I'm using it and pulling it over into the coaching and the training, and saying, okay, how can we as a team, that's when it gets fascinating, how can we help people be aware of their energy states? And because if somebody's, like when they have a meeting and they serve, Coca-Cola and donuts, and everybody has a gluten crash, and they're like, meetings suck. And, it's like, how can we help that?
Please don't drag me into talking into meetings, because this is like my life's project, more or less.
Yeah.
So be careful to suck me in there. Okay.
What, to put you in a meeting?
No, you don't want to get me talking about meetings.
Yeah, I've seen you make some comments about them, and yeah, that's pretty interesting.
I've made the last 3 years. I created this project, which is like.
Yes.
Okay.
I think those are amazing.
Oh, yeah. Really? You know them?
Well, through you, you were showing them, and you were talking about them at one time. And I was like, oh, yeah. Those are great.
So, and so this is a way, what you're talking about is how do we hack culture, flow state, whatever, through chemistry.
Through chemistry, I mean, you can call it chemistry. Well, science, and behavioral science is my thing. So there's this huge overlap, and normally it's like behavioral science, nutrition, chemistry, but I see the overlap, and why wouldn't you put them all together? Well, that's just me, but
yeah. In fact, and I think that the boundaries are not that clear cut. Like, you can ask someone to. I'll give you an example out of the deck. Sorry, there is a card says start the meeting by a cardiac coherence, by an exercise of cardiac coherence. Do you know what's cardiac coherence?
Yes. Yeah.
So you know what? Let's start. We already started here. Okay, so we started, and this is a meeting. Let's start it by cardiac coherence. Do you mind? So cardiac coherence is we all try to synchronize our breath for half a minute without talk. Okay, so when I'll do that because I volunteered, I don't know, because it's my show. and so when I do this, breathe in, and when I do this, breathe out. But what I want you to do before you do that is if you are not in high view, like have a view of everyone, like have a view where everyone is equal, and just meditate on this image. Okay, so I'll set the rhythm, and I won't do it with sound, just visually. And let's have half a minute of just okay. And this is a way to start a meeting. So the reason I wanted to like I chose this one is because it's exactly on the space between the two. Like it's one is by breathing like this, I go into a different mode. Like it's a different, I guess, chemicals in my brain behave a bit differently than 5 minutes ago. But two, also to see everyone do this, it makes us at sync, like makes us a bit more um, in harmony with each other. And harmony is a word that I love to use. So my challenge is not to use it more than 5 times a day. So
I also, that is in alignment with, I was talking to, we had a chat with Joshua on Sunday, and I also studied the kind of like the hive reactions and the mycelial connectedness of a group. And so this happens, the phenomena happens with like sports teams and dance troops, where they get to a point where they're all in flow and they're in sync together, where they're not thinking, and it's like everything clicks into place, and they call it hive mind. Now I know I've heard that used in kind of a more negative connotation, but this particular connotation, it's when a group becomes in sync. And so it's the thing with the breathing and the syncing the heartbeat, that is sort of part of that, and the bringing a group together, and then there's that overlap. Yeah, I find that fascinating because it's easier to do in small groups, but it does happen in larger groups. I don't know if any of you have ever been in a concert.
there's only me. They don't. They're in a table nearby.
Okay,
They're
okay.
talking to me.
But I have to move everybody on because I'm looking at everybody. Let's see. There we go. That's easier for me visually. But there's yeah, if you've ever been in a concert or something where it just all of a sudden it's like the chemistry shifts and it becomes very like magic. And so this is what's happening chemically, is we're all chemically responding to each other. And so I find that the kind of stuff fascinating. It's like, oh wow, okay, can we provoke that, not in a brainwashing type of way, but how can we use that maybe to facilitate? It's like, for example, they talk about it in the one book I'm reading, and they talk about this, that this is what happens with like Navy SEAL teams. They go in and they're just so in sync, and they're like a one mind. And
so I, there is a wonderful, perhaps if we do a pause, I will find that. I told you about the book of Peter Merrill, the Agile Tao.
Yes.
And he has, like, the first poem in it is about mind. And it's so, like, I'll take half a minute to find it, because I really have to share it with you. Agile Tao. Sorry, but I really, this is something that I must read. Okay, tack, tack.
Interesting the negative connotation you place on brainwashing. When I think about it as like a cleaning, you know, it's like almost like a breaking away from the norm, stepping away from cultural context. I wonder if it has to be negative.
I've heard some people talk about it in that manner. For example, the Tony Robbins phenomenon, and that everybody gets swept up in it. He's good at what he does, but there's a lot of NLP that's mixed up in there. He's very good at what he does, and but he's doing it specifically. And there's a lot of talk. There's two camps of people that when should you or shouldn't you, kind of a thing. But he's a master. He's a master. Yeah.
And the first time, like when I was 18, I went to something called the EST, or the Gerhard, something, Gerhard seminar training. And it really, in a sense, it changed my life. So I don't know, positive or negative, but like the feeling of being part of a group that goes through an experience of losing the self is really strong.
Yes.
Now, positive or negative depends what you get out of it. And it's very easy from the outside to criticize Tony Robbins or for sure, what's it, Scientology, right? What's his name? The experience is subjective.
Yeah.
And as someone who was there and got a lot from it, and wasn't part of, like, there were people who were swallowed in it. I wasn't. So the experience is totally subjective. But now I must. I choose this word. Read to you this poem, which I think is beautiful, and it's the interpretation of Peter Merrill of the first segment of the Book of Tao, which talks about everything. Like the Book of Tao, it starts by one poem which describes everything, and then it goes into fragments. And the description of everything looks like this, and I'll read it with you. So, mind. And it talks about life, what is life and what is mind. So life is not the breath in your lungs, nor mind the thoughts in your head. Mind is the cause of all thoughts, and life its source. Thoughts represent forms, forms express thoughts, each generating the others in waves on the surface of mind. I'll let it sink in for a second. Beneath this surface, formless and silent, boundless and liquid, dream dreams with no dreamer. So this is the definition of mind is dependent on life that Peter Merrill got out of this book. Does it resonate?
Yeah.
So that if you want, in fact, I can put it in the chat. So if anyone wants to take a look at it, I really, really like this one. So that's just because you said mine, then it triggered me. So I'm sorry for my triggering.
No.
And also, like,
No
what I would like, I would love someone, a volunteer in this group, to read the chat when someone writes something and think, is it worthwhile interrupting the conversation for this? So like to find the right space, because I'm not reading it.
I'm reading it.
Okay, so just no.
I've actually answered a couple people. Like, yes, exactly.
So who wants to be the chat responsible? Raise your hand. Joshua, I'll nominate you, because I know that you like to read.
I'm fairly okay at interrupting respectfully.
No, but I want you to represent the others. Like it's so people
something
who write
jumps
stuff.
Up that...
Or let's do it another way. Whoever wants, interrupt whenever you want, only respectfully and not in long speeches.
Yeah. I'd like to switch gears a little bit, because there's a question that I've just been dying to ask you. My favorite question that I ask everybody, and so I'd love to do this. But if you can think back to when you were 7 years old, or around 7, it can be 5, 6, 7-ish, around there, and what did you love to do so much that you would forget about time, and you would forget to eat, you would forget to come in from playing? What did you love doing that you would just lose yourself?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know. Like I think I had toy soldiers, like plastic soldiers, and I would arrange them on the floor and stuff like that. But I'm not sure. Like I used to love doing mainly nothing.
Mm-hmm. 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 So I was going to say, what were the components of when you would lose yourself in play? Sort of the elements.
I feel when I answer this, it's like I'm inventing an answer. I don't really know. It's.
Okay. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Some people, when I ask, they don't know. They don't have the memory from then, and then they come back to me later and they're like, oh, I can tell you. Yeah, but that's for me. It was thinking.
Yeah. So in fact, it's exercises like that. It's like, what does it mean to die? How do, like, there is this thing of. I would imagine that I close my eyes and I grow very, very big, but the whole world around me would grow big at the same time. So how would I know?
Yes. Yeah.
So like stuff like that. One time I remember this. We had an apartment where you can go through the corridor and come back from another door. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I was sitting on the sofa, there's this wall behind me, and then I asked myself, how do I know that when I go and I come back to the same place?
Right.
And I say, I have a solution. In fact, I can try this. I can take a string and put it around and pull it and see if it's pulled on the other side. I said, yeah, but it will not work, because if it's as you know, when I come back, the pillows are on the same place. So perhaps there's another one who's exactly like me, and when I will pull, he will pull the string. So there's no real way to know this except for breaking the wall.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was like a thought that I remember I had around 6, 7.
Okay. That's interesting. So then we're getting some comments in here. So I'm going to stick with this a second, and then I'm going to read a couple of the comments in there.
For someone who's ADD and all of this, you're a great multitasker.
It depends. It depends. When I'm high energy, yes. When I'm low energy, it's like game over, and and then it's just torture. But actually, when things are more chaotic, that's when I'm in my element. Yeah, it's when things slow down that I have trouble. And then I become fairly comatose. So what's interesting about this question, when I ask people their, when they can remember, is when you think of the kind of the elements, sometimes not exactly the things, but the elements of what they love to do. And then the follow-up question is, how much of the same elements are present with what you love to do and what you do now? And a lot of times they're dead on most of the time, I find. And
but another thing is, for me, frankly, I don't play with the soldier, like toy soldiers anymore, because it doesn't interest me, not because
no, not the exact soldiers, but what is the elements? Because when you were saying about the string and about the thinking.
Yeah, so this is still there.
You.
Yeah. But that's why I remember it. I think you groom your memories, right? You take out the memories that don't suit your image of today. So like, I'm sure that if you would go back to my 6 or 7 year old, he would probably answer something else. What I'm saying now,
okay, hold on a second. I'm not asking the question of what are your memories of being 6 and 7. It's because it's very primal. It's a very primal feeling of, and this is where at about that age in human development where we start to find our identity. And so there's an awareness factor of that age. And so it's when you say, what did you love to do, that you would just lose track of time. And so for me, it was thinking, it was reading, it was walking around in the woods, just thinking. I could be out there for days and days, and you have no concept of time, because you're just at that age, you tend to be, it's just a developmental stage. For some kids, it's, it could be between 5 and 8, but the average age is around 7. And then it's sort of like what your core, where you find joy, where you find this true connectedness to the capital S self, almost. And some people, they'll lose that connection, and then they spend their life trying to get back to that. And it's but it's interesting, because it's like some people say, yeah, I was doing this and that, and it's in alignment. They're doing something, engineering or mathematics or something, and they don't see the connection, but it's still creative, whatever it was, because little kids are super creative. That's what we do, playing. But it's the playing of the mind.
I will move to another room because I want to give space to my partner. Okay.
Okay.
Hold on. Bear with me. We're not. We're just moving around. Hold on. I tell her that I'm moving. Bella,
I see,
I'm going to the bedroom.
I am ready. I'm finishing.
Oh, okay. So I'll stay here. It's okay.
We're having the Dove house tour.
Yeah, sort of. You see, and like this is a space that, like, this is my office. This is the virtual wall of my office.
Okay.
And when you go outside, you're in the living room.
Okay.
So that's the. I love this place. Yes.
I should read some of these because they're really great. I love Shivani's. Shivani says, I used to watch ants for hours. And so Shivani, I did too. I was absolutely fascinated by them. So yeah. So you said you were a weird
No,
kid.
I was sure we had some weird thing in common. It took me forever to figure it out, but bingo, there we go.
Yeah, but watching ants is not weird. Well, come on.
It's no, it's the best. It's the best. Yeah, no, I could go on.
This group, I can understand, like, this group is really very different and very open-minded.
Watching look out on the internet, watching ants, and look up watching mice, and I'm sure you will have more hits on watching ants. So there's nothing. But like one thing that I learned in recent years is, and this is part, I think we project our own models of reality on others. And so the image of ants is that, there's worker ants, and there's, I don't know, foraging ants, and there's stuff like that, and they work all the time and whatever. Now it turns out that ants, one, spend most of the time doing nothing, and two, change roles according to whatever is needed. So
I'm not sure if my little brain back then really made sense of what they were doing. I was just like, these things are moving and they're so tiny. That's it.
So, by the way, in Israel, they're quite big. Like there's ants that are really.
Yeah. No. No, thank you. No, thank you. Say no to big bugs. Let me see who else has something in here. Jean-Louis said, I think to me it all boils down to going on an adventure, either reading books, comics. He says growing up in Belgium has its perks, and playing board games with my siblings. Yeah. Which is funny, Jean-Louis, because look what you do for a living,
Yeah, I think I still lose track of time,
Yeah.
Maybe I just want to stay in that place where time is elastic.
Yeah. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't, That's my goal. Okay. All I want to do is play. All I want to play and hang out and talk to cool people.
Which brings me back to they stole you from me. I'm trying to bring you back. Okay. So what do you do for, like, what you do during the day? Who are you? Day content wise.
Okay. I'm super, super picky about who I share my time with. And I'm very protective, I guess that's the way to describe it. I have a massive amount of time blocked out for thinking. Thinking, some of it to studying and research. I just love learning. I love thinking is a huge part of it, if I haven't mentioned that before. I like putting together ideas. I like having discussions, and then having, as you're speaking with somebody else that's asking great questions. Sometimes it can get kind of debate, but not like a I win, you lose. It's more of an infinite discussion, a mind-broadening discussion.
And do you want me to read you the poem about mind again?
Right, I really liked it. I was like, yes, that all makes sense. Yeah.
Like what I like in that metaphor is that mind is a collective thing. Mind is not my mind, your mind.
Exactly.
It's one big thing. There's only one mind in the world.
Yeah, this is the thing I was telling you about, the mycelial connectivity of all of us, that I'm fascinated with. And it's kind of like you can tap into it and, pull out some bits of it and, num, num, num. And, and you can share it with others, it's like, ooh, taste this. This is great. To go back to the thing of like, what do I do? Because people say, what does Sharon do? And
People, it's just me.
yeah, no, but I'm saying in my life, people
Yeah,
ask me
yeah.
that. And so it's the people that I meet and sometimes I feel almost apologetic about the richness that I've created. When I say that, it's because people people seem to be so busy and all the time, and I really try not to do that. I do the opposite. And but I'm always, I want to say, on tap if for certain people for coaching or mentoring, and we have a project facilitation company, very small, it's a team. So if they need my help at any given time, if I'm not on a call, if there's a crisis, I have the energy, I'm grounded, I'm balanced, I can deal with anything. So it works, it's good. But there's the freedom in being able to choose and I want to set up something like that, not being at other people's beck and call or other people's time, or if that makes any sense.
And where do you help? Like who
What do
did
you
you
mean?
help? Who did you help to? And how?
For example, if somebody's having a crisis situation, a conflict situation in their company or in their team. And so I look at it, I just jump in and go, hey, tell me about break it down for me. Normally I know something about it that's going on. But if somebody says, hey, I have a friend that's got a problem with their company, it's like, okay, what's going on? So I'll ask a number of pretty base questions. And so just to get an idea of what's going on, and then it's analyzing it, but it's kind of on the fly, and say, okay, maybe this is a good solution here, maybe this, but in a crisis situation, just to let you know, we came from in the automotive sector when we were living in Germany right before we moved back here. And so there's like, everything is crisis management on projects. And so there's always something, And so you have to be able to, pivot very quickly. You have to figure out what the problem is, do an analysis, on the spot. And
When you say analysis, it's a rational thing, or is it's a sensing thing?
I would say it's more of a sensing thing, because it's when people are in the crisis situation and things are going wrong fast. And, for example, my partner Lydia was working for a company that was working for one of the tier 1, and they were over in Russia. And so they needed to do get parts over there for the prototype, and that something wasn't working, and then people were in conflict, and they were, they had to have it done, or else it was, get a particular part to a particular place. And so it's like, okay, this is, she was like, I what do we do? How do we fix this? And I said, okay, I asked a number of questions, and I said, okay, tell them, send an email here, I'm on the outside, what the hell do I know? But it's basic, human behavior, and it's very primal. And so, okay, what do they want? Do they want the things there? Okay, if we want things there, you need to get a ticket for the airplane. So you needed to tell them you need this, 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 and this. Ask them what they want. Because if you say, well, maybe we should do this, say, nah, send an email. What do you want? This will solve it. This is the way to do it. And then get her on an airplane, go, she takes a taxi over here, and it's screamingly expensive to throw money at a problem like that, but it gets it done. And so this is what we do. This is what we were doing. And it's fun, because you're like, oh, it's intense. and it's fun, but you have solving the problem and getting something done. And sometimes they don't hit it. Sometimes they don't hit it, but at least you can get part of it. So she's on a plane, I'm writing the email that she needs to translate into French. And then we get, it's like, you know, I can feel when I'm doing it, I'm hot in it. And it's like, I can hear the Mission Impossible music playing in my head. And I like it. I like it. And it's intense. It's like a sprint, but then it's over, you know, and you just,
So
and
you
it's
need
not
the
a matter
rush.
of, huh?
You need the adrenaline rush.
It's not so much that I need it, but I do like it. I mean, you see me, I do like it. And if it was constant, I would not like it. You know, if I was, but this is why I can't work in a big company where they would have you make so many mistakes that, because in the really, really massive companies in the automotive industry, it was just one thing after another. And all the people around us, you know, that we were trying to help, it's like, wow, the level of burnout was outrageous, absolutely outrageous. And it's sad. It's, you're watching people, you know, really brilliant people just suffering. And there's just
But,
nothing we could do.
so like, no, the way I see it, I worked also in the automotive industry, and it was a catastrophe. Like it was horrible in France, out of all places. And I feel like the company is a huge organism, and perhaps all the cells in your body are healthy, but the body is sick because you can have a very healthy cell of your stomach, but if it's on your nose, then it does nothing. Like it's just frustrating for the whole body.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it reminds me something that I read. But now I'm finishing this book.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I like it so much that today I got the illustrated version, which is really fun. Anyway, one story that I read there, there is a company like a Teal company, whatever, that creates metal parts, and they create parts also for the automotive industry. It's quite a big company, and they decided, because of the value, whatever, in holidays they create small metal dolls of Santa Claus, or in other holidays, something like that, and they put it in the package of the things that they send to the automotive industry. So, and you can imagine someone who like now takes out an exhaust pipe, and near the exhaust pipe there's a small metal Santa Claus. What sort of, you know, paying forward the smiles in the world it does, like, and what joy it is just to someone in this factory to create these Santa Clauses and put them in the box, you know.
Yeah, that's
So, like,
exactly, you're exactly, you know, on it. And this is another thing that we did, and we were able to actually make things happen. It was because we were really good at making connections. Lydia is my partner. She's if I could bottle how she is, I would be a, what do you call it, grillionaire. Because she has this capacity.
gazillionaire, no, it's
A gazillionaire, yeah. And but she has this capacity to connect with people. The trust, and they like her and they trust her the second she walks in the door. I've never seen anything like it. And you know, she's kind of oblivious to it. So it's, you know, but I'm just like, but if you could harness that, you know, it's like, I wish I had that. I don't, but it's, I recognize like the value of that is incredible, because she has the capacity to have the trust, and the people will do, you know, on wherever she's working, they'll do anything, you know. And so if she's in there, we call her like the oil in the machine, and to actually, you know, allow it to happen. And I'm more of what you call like Oz behind the curtain, sort of. Not necessarily controlling it, but the strategy of what we're doing. So, but it works. And so now we're doing that in the excuse me, part of what we're doing is bringing that into the renovation industry, the building and renovation industry here in France, because we just came back. That's like the first week of December 2019, and then COVID. So this is interesting to say the least, but it's the same problems.
Of course.
No
Like
different.
I won't go too much into meetings, but
Yeah.
I do trainings for facilitators, remote facilitators.
Mhm.
And what I usually say is that the most important thing to understand about remote meetings is that there are meetings. And whatever problems you have in remote meetings, I assure you that you had them before as well. Maybe not as loud. And the way to resolve this is to understand what is the problem that the meeting has, and not what's the problem that the remote meeting has.
Mhm.
So it's the same. It's all about intention and connection and listening and stuff like that. And if you're good at listening, you will listen even if the line is broken. And if you're good at communicating, you will communicate through a keyboard that has all the vowels missing.
Yeah.
And if not, then talking, having the most intimate meeting room and having everyone around will not help you get the message across.
Exactly. The connection and the trust is everything. And since the COVID factor, people have been forced to slow down for the first time ever. Ever. And so there's a lot more awareness and self-awareness, and people are meditating, I mean, globally. And I think this is a phenomenal thing, and people are starting to have discussions. I see it all over the internet in all different languages. And so we're at this amazing tipping point that is super exciting, because watching the kind of this groundswell of awareness and openness that we've never experienced before. And people are saying, it's like, it's all about the trust, especially because we're in this sort of, of course, different media and governments or whatever, they're pumping the fear, but they don't need to pump the fear. But that was what was coming before. But then with the COVID, it's just more of it. And there's so, it's fearful enough. The pandemic is scary enough for so many of us. And so it's like, now it's like, who do you trust? So the trust between people and fostering the trust and building the connection is more important than ever before. It's so, so everybody's talking about this stuff, and it's wild to see.
What do you mean more important? I think it's easier, but why is it more important?
I didn't say it's more important. It's more important. Yes, I did. Sorry. It's before, people were they were going so fast, and so they're like, we'll connect later. We'll build trust later. And so now people, because everybody is connecting online and working online, and working remotely, now people are like, oh God, how do I do that? And managers are having to manage people remotely. Whereas before, they would just come in, just get it done because I said so. Everybody's like, yeah, I can't hear you. I lost my connection. Sorry. They're behind this blank screen with the finger. It's so it is. You can't just order people. You can't be a bully manager anymore. You could try, but good luck keeping your workers, And so that's why I say it's really important now that people are just, just struggling, trying to pick up, the EQ skills for the management. Here's an interesting fact. In like really large companies, especially the ones that are heavily having the engineering populations as employees, the sheer numbers and the fact of engineers, and the engineering as a not industry, as a
profession.
No. As a sector, okay, as a
Okay.
anyway, engineers in general, engineering in general attracts a very large, or ends up with a very large percentage of people somewhere on the autism scale. It's either they're very high functioning, and so nobody can tell, or they are they're very heavily on the high on the autism scale. And so in the engineering and mathematics, this is just a thing in the fields of engineering and mathematics. And so in all, like the automotive industry, manufacturing, they unfortunately promote people. They just promote people, and they don't do much management training at all, if at all. And so when you're promoting people and they're not noticing if somebody even has the capacity to manage people, then that's where you get into trouble. Because we've come across that in the last 25 years we've been in the automotive industry. And I feel so bad for some of these people, because they're just brilliant, but they're not supposed to be managers, and they don't have the skills, and they're being forced into these management positions and made to feel like crap, but no support systems whatsoever. And some people make it out of that. The people are either high functioning, or they're not. They don't suffer from at all from on the autism scale, and they can actually make it through. But some of these people are just suffering, and I think it makes me sad.
And this is why I like the book, in fact, because like I'd learn, and like what you said before about your partner and her talent. I wanted to say, why do you want her talent? If everyone would be like her, there would be no one like you. And the thing is that, that people like, again, just like an organism, if all of my body would be brain, I would have no muscles, right? As a team, as a group, we don't have to be like someone else. We bring our own thing, which makes this organism, which is a group, a super being, because it can do this and that.
Yeah. No, mine are fine. I'm totally fine with mine. It's just that I would like a little bit of hers. But unfortunately, it's really not a thing that you can learn. It's just how she is innately, and she's just a sweetie pie, and she's really smart, but she's a sweetie pie. I'm more intense, and so at times it can come across as intimidating, depending on who I'm in front of, if they happen to feel that.
Do you think that she, if I would ask her, she would say that she wants to be like you?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, she does.
So change. Well, that's it.
No. I'm joking about it. Of course, it's not possible, and we like being ourselves. But it's everybody says that. God,
and this is another mind game that I had when I was 7. Was to say, like, I would like to be someone else, but if I would be, I can't be myself and be someone else at the same time. So perhaps now I'm exactly this someone else, and here's me, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, like, there's no middle way. Like, if we.
Oh, that's like people say, "Oh, I would feel like I could be 20 again." Oh, yeah, but you have to go back and be just as stupid. Yeah. You don't get to go back and knowing what you know now. That would be cheating. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, you could have.
I see we have tons of comments, and I didn't read
Saskia
any.
says.
So, no. If anyone wants to say or ask something, let them voice themselves.
Okay.
Well, originally I started a discussion here that Charles was helping me clarify that it sounds like Lydia has mastered what Mr. Medbriam, which is a psychologist that has defined the 735-50 or 738-55 rule says that 7% of communication, or 7% of feeling towards somebody based on communication is the actual language. And then it's the 38% is tonality and 55% is body language. So we kind of started a discussion around Lydia being a master of the latter 55, it sounds like.
Well, okay, this is the interesting answer to that. She has a hearing handicap, and she has, so she hears out of this ear. This ear, she says, is just for decoration and sunglasses. And so when she's listening, and because she's not stereo, she's mono, if in any given situation, it's very difficult for her to hear because of noise, background noise. So what she does is she kind of leans in. She has her head turned slightly, and it's kind of at an angle, and she's kind of desperately trying to read lips, because when she was little, before they unblocked the one ear, she was deaf. So she did a lot of lip reading. So so she has to really pay attention to the person. And so this is what I do, Dove. I stole this a little bit, is I go, yeah, okay, you have a hearing handicap. So I lean in a little bit, just like she does, and I kind of tilt my head, and I just
I can see how it's working. Yeah, right?
on the person's mouth. But what it does is it makes the person feel seen and listened to. And because she says all the time, but I don't do anything. I'm just in the room. I never said anything. I said, yes, but you made them feel heard. But she's also a sweetie pie. So when she walks in the room, and it's like you're having a Labrador puppy come in the room, and everybody's like, oh, and everybody's glad to see the Labrador puppy, right? So,
and I see Saskia giggling, so I guess it resonates. But
it's true, isn't it?
That is not just giggling, that is hardcore laughing. Yeah, it is true. It is true.
Yeah, no, she's pretty amazing. Lydia's pretty amazing. But I always say, God, if I could bottle it, if I could train it. Studying her is she's what I call one of my best test animals. I'm like, can I teach this to other people? It's like the first lesson is, okay, pretend you can only hear out of one ear. But it's the thing of paying attention to somebody, making them feel heard and cared about, and kind of the rest of it.
So I say yeah, and I shake my head, and I remember the story that I don't know if I told you that there was a professor in the university, and a few of his students tried to pull a prank on him, and they said, no matter what he says, whenever he's close to the window, we'll do this, and whenever he's not close to the window, we do this. And at the end of the lesson, he was stuck to the window and had the impression that people really listen well.
Oh, wow.
So this sort of unconscious communication, it's and that's why, like, when I talk about how to communicate through this media, the power of doing this, like Doug, for example, in his things, one of the striking things is that when I talk and I see this wave going up, down of heads, the only reason I'm not totally influenced by it is because I'm aware that this happens, that I see this and I realize the effect on me.
Right.
But it's now that you know this, you can, just like the ear, you can play with it. Now you can, you have something to add to your repertoire.
The repertoire, yes. And I'm very aware of that, because I've taken numerous classes about that, and as well as when I was growing up, my mother was also a behavioral scientist, and so we grew up, being not grilled in it, but the communication, we had to learn it, and how to confrontational dialogue and all of this stuff as children, and which is like so great. It's such a great thing, because now it's just natural, and using, how you put your phrases together to lower conflict and invite, the conversation, open it up. But it's again, the whole body language thing, but I think it comes more naturally to some people than others, because I have studied it, and I have to make a conscious kind of an effort. Some things come naturally, like the eye contact, but I think I've always been that way. But the other things, but Lydia has it, she just does it naturally. She doesn't even know that she does it. And it's like, oh. But I notice it in other people when they're doing it. And I was like, oh, look at what they're doing. And I'm like, wait, concentrate on what they're saying. Because I get into the, being aware of what's going on. Yeah.
Ah, but you can do both. Like you can be, I think, no, the body part responds to the body part, and the voice responds to the voice, and the text responds to the text.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like there's
so.
no. You don't have to be, to have all your body concentrate on the words that you produce out of your mouth.
Mm-hmm. So true. Let me ask you a question. In terms of like the agile, because I know that you want to like create change, or is it facilitate change? I forget. I've read your bio a number of times.
Mine, I didn't read my bio. If I want something, is to help increase harmony in the world. Like if you want this, so it's not about change. It's about removing points of friction.
Right. Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yes, absolutely. For me, I don't know about you, the people sitting at the next table, but.
I don't know. So what was the question?
So it's like, what in removing the friction in your let's say quest, your adventure, removing friction points, what are the areas that tend to frustrate you?
Politics. I'll give you an example from now, okay? A negative example. Mm-hmm. The reason I enjoy working where I am now is because it seems like the purpose of the organization is so clear, mm-hmm. that people who join it don't have a stronger personal agenda than the agenda of the organization. They come in with the intention to be part of this thing, and not, I don't know, it's a balance, but in general, less than to have a power of something. Okay, so if I talk to a team that is frustrated by the KPIs, mm-hmm. and then I talk to the person who is managing the KPIs, I see that there is a misunderstanding in between them.
Right, the gap.
This is a space where I can go and try to make them communicate better with each other, so that they understand what is the purpose behind the KPI, and perhaps they can suggest something better. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But to suggest something better, they have to connect to an intention. Since they both work in the same organization, and as I said, the intention is clear, the intention is one. Mm-hmm. So either they understand the intention better than him, or he understands better than them, or they understand differently, but there is a clear point of alignment. And when you work in an organization where the purpose is not clear, I don't know if you ever were in an organization like this, but I heard that they exist. Mm-hmm. Then the personal agenda becomes the thing. So mm-hmm. now if there's a manager and he feels that he will lose power over someone, there's nothing else that gives him a raison d'être. Mm-hmm. This mm-hmm. is his power base. This is his energy base, right?
Exactly. Mhm.
So the way I see my job is to increase harmony, so that you and me
Mhm.
will have a common purpose that we agree to share.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's why in big organizations
Mhm.
with a very fluid or non-existent purpose, all I can do is incite people, so they in the small group they create some harmony, and then usually they're frustrated with the outside environment and they leave, or they
Yeah.
create some conflict as a group toward the chaos that's outside.
Yeah, that's why we got out, because Lydia was getting, it was very toxic for her, because she's very much on the feeling side. I can bracket that and soldier on, but I wasn't in it. She was in it, and it was becoming very toxic for her on the projects. We were moving from project to project, so it wasn't stuck in one place, but it was exactly like you're describing it. And so we were kind of doing this. I mean, we weren't saying it was Scrum, but we were using Scrum, anywhere we were, and we were like getting the little teams to do it, and they were loving it. But then as soon as we were gone, it goes right back. It goes right back. And you can't, there's no change there. I mean, if you don't have and the companies are so massive, and tier one automotive, they're just, you can't, yeah.
So when I was younger in this journey,
Mhm.
my model would be that my goal is to increase agility in the world.
Mhm.
So I create people who, like, I create whatever, like I create understanding and awareness, and then people leave, and the agility in the world is increased.
Yes.
So I help people quit an organization that they don't like.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I
So
felt
that's
we
amazing.
did the same thing, because there's people that we still have contact with, and that are now actually really good friends, and some of the leaders in they ended up leaving as well. And so, but we're in contact with these people, but so you collect the amazing people kind of everywhere you go, that also suddenly realize that it's like, wow, this doesn't work for me. So it's sort of like I used to say to people, what is your goal? And I said, I want to save the world one miserable engineer at a time. And that was sort of my, raison d'être. And it felt good, sometimes to kind of help somebody, help themselves. But yeah, it's just.
So currently, I don't see my mission as to help people, but to help organizations. Like, my goal is to make this big thing have less friction in it. And luckily, it also helps people. And also it makes people happier. But the goal is not to help all of the cells in your body to be healthier, but to help your body be healthier.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's my
Yeah.
model of whatever it is that I do.
I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this name right. The Mabubul. He says he would like to recommend watching a YouTube video on how to prevent a bozo explosion. Guy Kawasaki, I love Guy Kawasaki. Oh my gosh, I have to watch that.
Yeah, so I was just picked up on what you were saying earlier on with regards to managers not having the right skills and training. So this is one of the things I observe a lot. Unfortunately, there's full of managers. They're there for the promotion and the money, and they're involved in politics, and they have their network and promote each other. And in the end, you end up having managers, leaders who are not doing, what they should be doing. They're more networking, have their other interest. And in terms of skills, of people skills and team skills, they're very poor. And their objective is very different. So what you were saying earlier on resonates with me. And we had Alistair Coburn came, we invited him. And he actually said some of the bonuses and the executive bonuses are set in such a way that it prevents collaboration.
Yes.
Because we always talk to each other and we scratch our head, we're frustrated. But if you talk to the C-level guys, their objective is very different. Is to protect their organization against another organization. This is why you have the thing like engineering versus IT, but that's their objective. Their objective is to promote their own organizations, which frustrates the little people like us. But unfortunately, that's what they're promoting as a company-wise.
And I think I read in your profile, I look at everybody. I'm relentlessly curious.
So this
But
is
you
an
work at-
illustration
work at
that you have a
Airbus.
lot of time, right? Like you said before, you have a lot of time. Here's the proof.
Or you're curious.
No, I am. I'm very, very curious.
It's a good thing.
And it's a small group, so I was like, oh, I could do this. I could look at, just get an idea of who's coming in. So and you work at Airbus, yeah?
Yes. So I've also worked in other companies, but yeah, there's a common theme, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, manufacturing and tier one, it's a thing. Good, cool. And
So I'm curious now. I'll ask a question. Since you were last time, what do you have remaining out of the last conversation with Lily?
oh, cool. Nothing like putting me on the spot. Where's it was interesting. It was interesting on a number of different levels. Because Saskia and I sat in on a workshop she did, and I got a completely different impression of her when she sat in with you. And she was just calm and really flowing, and she had a it was I want to say fun and pleasant. A lot of things are fun to me, but it was very pleasant and interesting to hear her speaking, how she was speaking during the conversation. I really liked it. And I liked because I think a lot about the finite and infinite, whether it's in how we're interacting with people, the discussions that we're having, and I try and help people switch between both, or how to comfortably switch between both. Because a lot of people in the work world, they're very finite. So I liked hearing how Lily was talking about that and having the open-ended kind of games or participation. I thought that was very, very interesting. And that the way that with the human behavior, when people are doing something like that, doing these sorts of activities, and people kind of getting over the discomfort levels, with that when they're not used to it. Another thing is, if anybody spends any time around me, you're forced to hear a lot about my mother. She was just a brilliant woman, ahead of her time. And she was very into improv and play and the mechanics of play with adults, and about, really big about permission with play and behavior. So there's a lot of overlap. So every time Lily was saying something, I was like, oh yes, I know that. I know the components of that. So it was very, very interesting for me to listen to her, and to hear what she's doing with it, in her way within companies, and trying to help groups. Yeah.
I have to recommend the video that I saw this week, and I'll explain also why. So there's I think it's a theater show in New York, which is called, I don't remember the exact name, Out and Within Itself, or In and Within Itself, something like that, which is a performance by a magician who talks about his life. And he creates magic on stage on a human level. And one of the things that he does, and this is what, like, when I asked you this question, I thought of this. At the middle of the show, he asks someone to volunteer to come to the stage, and he's someone who receives a big book, and he has to imagine what will be the end of the play, and then he leaves. And he comes the next day with this big book, and this book contains all the imaginary endings of the show, and it grows every day. It grows by a few pages. Because like what they have to do is go and imagine, first write down what happened, and two, what they imagine that will happen when they leave.
Okay.
And he says that it's because like the story behind it is that in ancient times, the captain of a ship, or like in a ship, there would be someone who would be in charge of writing the log of of the ship. And so when they knew where they are, they would write where they are. But when they didn't, when it was cloudy, whatever, they would write where they think they are. And the ship would, like the log would be a collection of true and imaginary voyages. So that's the inspiration of the book. And what I was thinking, like what I liked about it is that this is a way to connect all of his shows into one big thing. And suddenly I thought, if I ask everyone about what happened last time, it's again a thread in all of these talks to give it one,
Okay, a continued. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. It's like the continued story.
Yeah. So, but you really must see this this thing. Like it's a magic. It's true magic.
Yeah. There's another one that again, my mother, she was very into. She was really active with the Skeptics Society, and so she's actually met Penn and Teller. Yeah, I'm not jealous at all. But you would like, they would have all their meetings or whatever, but so I know she would love this. The next thing I'm going to describe, my mom's not with us anymore, by the way. So, but there's this, I don't know the name of it, but this guy does this thing where he sends out packages, and he's been doing it online. And I think there's like 25, but the whole thing is really complex and elaborate. So he has boxes, and so you have to like open them at a particular time. But he actually does this whole magic thing with like 25 people, but online. And I hear it's quite something. And I've heard it's just absolutely mind blowing. And that people are like, how does he do that? But they're like always sold out. So I haven't been able to get tickets or anything. I'll look for the link, and because I've got it saved somewhere.
So in fact, what I suggest, any resources we talk about here, we can put in the comments of the event, so whoever wants can find them.
Okay.
We don't have a lot of time left.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We have 12 minutes. Do you want does anyone want to ask something, or
We can open it up.
Let's open it up.
Jeremy was mentioning in the chat, and I might also share the same interest in like specifically how Lily was different, maybe in the way that she portrayed herself in the workshop versus, you mentioned she was calmer as one aspect when she was in the video. Maybe like what your thoughts are on that, or even why that could be. I'm throwing that in as my additional question.
Maybe it was because I think it was because of she was more relaxed. I think that was the biggest thing, so she seemed more approachable because it wasn't a structured environment. That's my first biggest impression.
So my theory, and this is why I'm not talking about this, is that my intention here is not to invite people to promote themselves. I'm here to sell nothing. And my intention is that you're here also not to sell anything, but just to be yourself. And even when I saw her in Play 14, when she did the thing, she came to do her role. She had a game in mind. She came to discover people who play games.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It was very professional, very, very well done. But I
it's
just,
awesome.
I liked the conversation because I felt like I got to know her
Yeah.
better. Is the thing.
And that's like that's a bit my intention here is to, and that's why I think the metaphor of sitting around the fire or coffee is this, because we have nothing to sell to each other, like we sell to the outside world, right?
Yeah.
But if we're just the two of us, then there's nothing here to sell, so we can be
Yeah.
more intimate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's does it answer your question?
I'm satisfied.
Great. Okay, great. That's awesome.
I've actually shared her closing game with us to leave your front door, look for a color, and aimlessly follow that color just for the sake of the experience. I've started sharing that with my network as well. So I'm passing her game on as a psychological meme, I guess you could say. I really appreciated it.
Yeah. So any other questions?
Thoughts? Jeremy, is your baby asleep already?
Oh, I wish.
Oh, okay.
No.
So I've got a question for Sharon, since it's been opened up. So hi, Sharon. How did you experience this?
This?
Yes, this. Right
It's,
now.
I like it. I like it. I have I do quite a bit of this is the first time I've done it hanging out with a bunch of people. Usually it's I would say a couple people. Actually Saskia and I and one other person is how it usually is. And normally before we made the collaboration household, it was just me and one other person. But now that the three dynamic is actually pretty good because sometimes I can make Saskia laugh, and once I can get her laughing, then it's like we broke Saskia and she's just laughing and laughing, which is always fun. And but
yeah, but she's on mute, so we can't hear.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't hear it. And she doesn't laugh really loud, but it's the ha ha, the total, But yeah, the doing it with a bunch of people is also this is fun. This is fun.
And just like one of the ideas that I have for this is that by default it's mine, but it doesn't have to be. Like if any one of you wants to invite someone, it's great.
Do you mean like if we said, for example, next month I said, hey, I want to host a bonfire, it would still be with you if I found somebody.
If you want, yes, so I can host both of you and step out, and that's it. So like, well, why not?
Okay, that would be interesting. That would be interesting because there's a number of people that I think would really work really well in a conversation, open conversation.
Like Doug, after the first time we talked, he said, I would love to interview you once in this format. Okay, why not?
Yeah. No, I like it. And I'm really, really happy. And so now's my chance, because I was waiting for this to say that I think this is really cool that you're doing this. And I don't see many things like this. And the fact that it's, just open, because it is a little bit risky when you don't know who's going to come in the room and if people are going to behave or whatever.
So what's the worst that can happen?
Right. And so there's always that, we're like, well, what could go wrong? And which is part of the interesting aspect of it, is allowing things to just happen in a natural way. And
I appreciate Shivani essentially said we're all weirdos.
Yeah, aren't we? But like everybody. So it's like you embrace the uniqueness and the atypical, because we're the same, we're human, but at the same time it's all,
Shall we, you said I'm an experienced facilitator. Yesterday, I can share what happened yesterday, right?
I mean, you started, so who am I to block you? You know,
Yeah. So
you want to
yesterday,
share your experience. It's yours.
yesterday there was someone in your session in Agile Agile 20 Reflect. Okay, that was horrible. Like she every time she said something, it was like a 4-minute speech. And so I tried to message her, and it didn't work. And at the end, what did you ask? Like you ask everyone to answer a question, which was
The thing I got out of this session is, or something like that.
Yes,
I
exactly.
don't right.
And she started saying what I think, and she talked like for 1 minute, and then I cut her. I said, sorry. The thing that you got out of the session is.
Oh, well, I know who you're talking about.
You were there as well, right?
Yeah. I know who you're talking about
So,
now.
and like, so I don't know, facilitator or not, but I don't mind being rude when I feel it's needed. If that's what you mean by facilitator, okay.
You'd be like, we're doing this thing, and then our resident pit bull, Dove.
I didn't mean anything by that. I'm just saying that you're an experienced facilitator because and you're not selling your stuff, so I'm not going to talk about it. You do beep and you do beep and you do beep, but you've got experience in facilitating groups. That's what I said. So
yeah. And in fact, like for me, the adrenaline is exactly this: is to challenge myself. How do I handle someone who I never talked to, while being committed to a framework of an hour and a half and people who are invited? And part of how to do this is not to care. So how also do I not care?
Right. Kind of to be able to bracket and gently, just gently nudge. Some people need more than a gentle nudge, but yeah. But it's also good when a community can kind of self-regulate instead of having, leaving it all up to one person.
Which is actually what happened yesterday.
Yeah. and you were awesome, by the way, really. That's why I came to see you perform. But like even I love what happens here. Perhaps it's an illusion, but people, we don't have a big group, but people are coming back to this. And for me, the people are coming back are not coming back for me. They're coming back for this group. So now someone in this group can step in and invite someone else, and let's see what happens.
I agree with Shivani. You're all weirdos, but I'm a card-carrying weirdo holder, so that's what draws me back. I'm like, this is an interesting crowd. I like to see what is gonna, come from it.
Okay. So the time is up, and I feel that it's time for dinner, at least in this geographical zone.
No, I just saw somebody put a message up there, so I'm sorry.
But so what I would love to happen, first of all, if any of you wants to join, and if any of you wants to bring someone and just use this platform, whatever it is, all yours. Any last words before we split up and say goodbyes and thank yous?
Jean-Louis, don't cry.
Oh. So you know what? I'll show my tool. So anyway, like let's see what will happen. Pick a number between 1 and 10.
3.
3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this one. Yeah, let's try this today. Ask someone to share what they've learned in 20 seconds. If they speak more, show them this card. So who do you want to pick out of the other people to share what they learned in 20 seconds?
Mabubul. Am I saying your name right?
Yes, you're saying my name correctly. That's fine. Yeah. What did I learn? I learned about a lot of interesting people.
Remember
discussing
that you have
lots
20 seconds.
Lots of interesting topics about collaboration, about people, and I liked in general the open-mindedness and being sparked through nature, through ants, everything. We can learn a lot about everyday life, observing. So it was very stimulating from my point of view. There's a lot of sparks flying apart from just learning. It's just the enrichment.
Time's up. Thanks a lot. And that's it, I guess I'll put this, like, if anyone wants this recording, I have it somewhere. I don't know what I'll do with it yet, but it exists if anyone wants to refer to it. And that's it. Now it's the sweet, like someone taught me this expression, the sweet sorrow of saying goodbye. So goodbye, you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thanks.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
See you later.
Thank you. Goodbye is something not to be said on mute.
Thanks, guys. Be good.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.